My family and I, we love watching the Charlie Brown specials, and it's at this time of year when a lot of those DVDs come out. Charles Schulz and Lee Mendelson produced several Christmas specials, and the one that comes to mind for this session of 1/6 TV is the one where Peppermint Patty is playing the role of the sheep in the Christmas pageant. And she's backstage and she's kind of freaking out a little bit because she can't remember her line. And her friend Marcy, who's playing the role of Mary, tries to calm Peppermint Patty down and say, "Sir, you only have one line. It's ba." But Peppermint Patty continues to forget and she can't remember her line. And, you know, I think Marcy's trying to calm her down, but I wonder if maybe Marcy is just kind of rubbing it in her face a little bit. Like, you know, "Sir, you only have one line. You're just a sheep. Your line is ba." You know, in every kid's pageant, there's always the role of the sheep, and there's not too many kids that really are dying to play that role. But if you don't have sheep, then you don't have shepherds. So even the role of the sheep really does matter, because if you remove the shepherds from Luke chapter 2, you have successfully ruined the nativity story. Perhaps the shepherds felt that their role didn't really matter, and I think that Luke chapter 2 corrects that wrong assumption. Maybe you feel like your role on the praise team doesn't really matter. And I hope that this installment of 1/6 TV will correct that wrong assumption. Here's the first thing I want you to see in this session. First of all, every role on the team matters. I suppose that of all the scriptures that we could look at passages like Romans chapter 12 and 1 Corinthians chapter 12, where Paul unpacks this idea that we are one body with many parts and that every part matters. If every part did the same thing, then we truly wouldn't be that effective. You see, it's our variety that empowers our ability. It's our variety that empowers our ability. I want you to think about your particular role on the praise team. What would happen if your role disappeared? Now, I'm not saying that what would happen if you weren't serving in that capacity. I mean, I hope that we all have the humility that says, you know, even if I'm not serving in this role, the kingdom will go on, it will advance. I hope that we all have that kind of humility. But what I'm saying is, what would happen if your particular role just vanished on a Sunday morning? What would happen if all of a sudden we had no drummer, we had no sound tech, we had no vocalist? In our context, we would feel that, wouldn't we? Now here's a different question. What would happen if you didn't play your part? What would happen if you didn't play your part? You see, I believe with all my heart, like Romans 12 and 1 Corinthians 12 tells us, that God is the one who arranges the parts of the body. He is the one that put you in that place. So if you're not doing your part, whatever that role is, then you're not allowing the Spirit of Christ within you to bless and affect the team and the church in the way that God desires. So first of all, your role truly matters. But here's the second thing I want you to see. Taking the initiative matters. Taking the initiative matters. You see, I believe that it's a sign of maturity, that we're growing up, when we take the initiative. I want you to consider the shepherds in Luke chapter 2. Have you ever noticed that the angel that appeared to them never really tells them to go into Bethlehem? They're never given that command. In fact, the only command that they're given is found in Luke chapter 2, verse 10, when the angel tells the shepherds, "Fear not." That's the only command that the shepherds are given. The angel never says, "I want you to go into Bethlehem and check it out." The angel just basically unpacks for them, here is what has happened. And we see this in verses 15 and 16. The shepherds took the initiative to check it out for themselves. When the angels went away from them in heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this thing that's happened, which the Lord has made known to us." And they went with haste. You see, the shepherds ran. They ran to fulfill their role in the story. So here's the question for us as a praise team. Would you consider your approach to this team to be one of taking the initiative, or simply waiting to do what you're told? Now, there's all kinds of ways that you can take the initiative on this team. And many of you do this over and over and over again. And for that, I am so thankful. I'm so grateful. For some of you on this team, taking the initiative might take the form of arriving early to rehearsal or sound check. It might mean being prepared in advance with the songs and arrangements so that when you come to rehearsal, that's not the first time that you've seen the chord charts. It might even be researching on your own time how you can improve your particular role, your particular skill, whether it's a technical skill or whether it's a musical skill, just researching that on your own time to improve. For you, it also might be looking for others that you can mentor to bring alongside of you and say, let me show you how this is done. Let me help you. Let me train you and teach you. You see, I believe that whether you serve on the platform or whether you're behind the scenes, you are a worship leader. You help people connect with God. You help people see God better. Not just sing better, but see God better. When we take the initiative, we help raise the level of involvement, which blesses God, it blesses our team, and it blesses the kingdom. I want to wrap up with something that a friend said to me recently. Creighton Tamarius is the worship leader at the First Baptist Church in Sarcoxie, Missouri. And we were just talking about our teams and how sometimes we notice that, the way that our teams look, it doesn't always look like, what we see at conferences or what we see on YouTube. And we agreed that this was actually a good thing because we feel like our teams need to be a reflection of our congregation. And I liked how Creighton said it. He said this to his team. He said, you are their worship leader. You are their worship leader. You're not somebody else's worship leader. You are their worship leader. In other words, what Creighton was saying is you have to own your role on the team. Own it. And serve the body of believers that God has provided. So I want you to be encouraged to own your specific role on the team as the Holy Spirit empowers you. God put you on this team. He arranged the parts of this body. I want to thank you for watching this short session here, and I do covet your thoughts on this matter. So I've included a couple questions below, and I would love for you to take a little bit of time to answer those questions because I read every response. And I want to thank you for being a part of this team. You all serve with excellence and humility and passion. I'm so thankful for that. Thanks for watching this session of 1-6 TV. We'll see you next time.